Alright, so we should be now streaming on the Pendulum's stream. I have my stream hosting this stream. We should be good. We should be good now. We should be good. Alright, so let's try this again, but from the top with all the marbles. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, the man they call Ghost. Of course, now below me instead of above me is the fantastic Burnt Custard, and joining us today is the special guest, T. Vintia.
Vanita.
Damn it.
But, hey, guys.
Alright, so, starting off with a personal, oh goodness gracious, the person that they've posted the bye week. Custard, I know you had started something in my stream, at least, about the leveler turrets and how their turn speeds seem to be a little bit slower than it used to be.
Okay, I'll repeat myself but be a little bit quicker. There was a post on the forums in the balance discussion section by Tripod27, and it described how the levelers kind of suck, and I'm going to do the thing with the hands again, because it's fun. The turret would go around really slowly, like this, and so if there's an enemy coming from behind it would turn really slowly, not be able to shoot it. But the actual tank could turn around really fast, so it was better to micro them to get them to focus on things, and it was painful, and it made them suck. And the reason why I picked this post, mainly, is because it's one of those things which has already been addressed by Uber in the form of PT balance changes, which is really nice.
Good, fast, very quick, very, good job, Uber, of course. T. Vintia, your response, because of the compliments.
Okay, so, discussing this, I will discuss docks, bolos, and levelers and sort of their relationship we have. So, docks are sort of this fast, speedy, general-purpose raiding type guy, good for scouting, good for a wide variety of roles. Whereas the bolos, in comparison, are more built for general-purpose ground combat and ground superiority. Now, the idea with the intent behind vehicles in general was always sort of supposed to be where you would use bots for more of a more specialized role and like special missions and whatnot. Vehicles would be more for base assaults and sort of full offense, and that's kind of what you see with how bolos play right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they still are effective in other roles. So the intention with the leveler was to sort of go full into the assault role, which is why its turret turn speed is so low, because it's got a lot of focused firepower and a lot of health and a lot of just like stuff. It's not a unit that you would necessarily want to. It's not meant to be a unit that you would want to kite with. Whereas something like the bolo can kite more effectively, and docks can most certainly kite effectively, and that's kind of that's core to using them effectively.
Mm-hmm.
However,
there's always the but.
Reading the thread and observing how they were playing in the stable build and doing some tests myself, came to realize that they were with the turn speeds as they were kind of having trouble just maintaining focused DPS in front of them, let alone just re-establishing damage output after turning. Like, aside from that,
mm-hmm.
They were just having trouble acquiring targets while moving, period. So, adjusting that, threw that out to PT, and we'll see how it goes. And it's also just a matter of people don't feel like they're strong enough to just throw at a base, which is more what we're going for with the leveler, is this, like, actually wanting to throw a steel tide of death and rage and just at your enemy, instead of this sort of clicking around and heavy micro, like, well, I need to draw them out, and I need to get
It's
them back.
just aggressive yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it from the PTE developer here. Bolos confirmed just aggressive yelling.
Levelers
But-
aggressive yelling. Bolos are more general.
They're more passive talking. They're like, oh,
They're
good
like,
set. Okay. I was actually going to bring up for my post.
Wait.
Oh!
Another thing again. First, fix the ablaze. Secondly, yeah, about the levelers, we may as well continue talking about them forever because we can just skip over them in the PTE section when we talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
It used to take 12 shots from ants to kill one leveler, and now it takes 18 because of the
That's a
HP
lot.
increase, which is
Yeah.
a big change, and apparently wasn't entirely on purpose. But I think it's really good because now, like, you can actually use them to hunt other tanks. You don't have to be scared of enemy tanks, and like
The
because
grouping and
before
such, yeah.
the leveler was as good as the ant in direct combat, so you would build just tons and tons of ants or bolos, if you want to call them that. I don't want to call them that.
Bolos!
So now, like, you have a reason to build the levelers now, and you
And the
don't
thing
have to try
is-
and avoid.
And the thing is, there's extra counterplay that you get with the leveler that you don't get with bolos. Is that they are very susceptible to flanking because of how slow their turret.
Yeah, like although there was a change, obviously, it's still much slower than the ant turret, and you can flank them, especially if you use like two groups of units. If you pincer the levelers, then they're going to die. It's really good.
There you go. Am I allowed now? Am I?
Sure.
Yeah, alright, awesome. So, the thing I wanted to bring up was the spectator/caster GUI. I don't know if you guys have the link or not. I'll actually throw it in the chat, or the Pendulum of War chat. But fun little fact, it's really nice to just have multiple just kind of build queues. I know you can see the economy, you can see the unit count seems a little bit iffy at times, because I know it'll tell you all the units that are dedicated as attack units, fabricators, and vehicles, but it doesn't tell you like what they are. Like you could have like 99 docks and one tank, but it's just going to say 100 units. I'm like, well, what will make that composition what will make the composition better? Because say the caster can see that you have 50 docks and 50 tanks, and they're all in one group. That will give the caster the ability to say, well, I mean, obviously we can see that they're going to have a lot of DPS with this very strong army, just because the tanks can absorb a lot of the damage, and then have the docks add that extra DPS to really punish the opponent for not kind of trying to play counter against that. Another thing I think that was brought up in here was the idea of seeing build queues and what the players are building up in the little, drop-down box that the player or the caster can see. So, I mean, I think a lot of the mods and I believe an Uber employee, he was in here somewhere, but I think a lot of them just said, this is something that'd be really nice to see, and I would really like to see it as well. Besides, of course, Galactic War.
Well, I can't necessarily comment on that because I'm not the UI designer
PT,
or the
yes.
UI developer. But feel free to, if there are changes you want to see, just make sure they're visible on the forums, and we do read them. And Jables works really hard to make sure good ideas get to the people that need to hear them.
Alright, so, I mean, I've had my little rant. Now the real reason why everyone is here, the PTE, and how that has been changed, updated, released, and are we in the 7.78421 or the 7.8071? Because we've got the PTEs now up and the PTEs now live. 421?
421 is what
All
I
right.
mean.
Yeah, that's the PTE.
Awesome. Alright, so, I guess, I mean, Davinthia, you just kind of want to, let's just have you explain all this, because I know the first one or at least was actually kind of the more important one that I noticed down here, was about the commander. But another thing was the orbital deep space radar, the radius being increased, effectively doubling it. The anchor and the umbrella, their vision also changing, and how that has...
Wait. I'm going to stop you again, Ghost. Because what you should do first with an interview, preferably, is
no, we're doing the
get
interview
T. Veneta to talk a little bit about himself.
We're going to do the interview after, Mom! Gosh!
Ask him about the pizza he had yesterday. And slowly sink into more complex questions.
I was going to start with the PTE and then explain, like, hey, Tavintia, now that we know all this information because you're such a fantastic Uber employee and you work so diligently with the PTE, let's find out more about you. But you know what? All right, let's flip it. Why not? Tavintia, we know you're an Uber employee. We know that you work with the PTE, but tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're, as we were talking a little bit earlier, your image, or the icon that you're using currently, is actually from a previous thing you've worked on. I mean, what is this thing, and what do you do specifically?
Right. So I have been an Uber employee for want to say over a year now. I started as an intern, I believe, senior year of college. Mm-hmm. As working game design on Toy Rush, which was a mobile title Uber was working on at the time. And after that, I moved over to an Oculus project that another small team has been working on called Icarus. And Icarus is sort of this adventure-y, like puzzly sort of third-person, first-person type deal. Mm-hmm. That's got a demo up on the Oculus storefront that you can play right now, and there's like YouTube videos of people playing it, and that felt pretty cool because that was the first time I had ever seen like anybody playing any of my games, anything I had worked on, mm-hmm. And like commenting on it, until moving over to here to be the balance designer on PA. And what that means is I have been doing pretty much managing the balance decisions and new maps and new content going into the game. So like anything related to gameplay has pretty much just been me. So.
Okay. No, I was actually going to ask the question. As you said, you started out with Toy Rush, and then you came into PA. How was it that the Uber team, I guess, said, Tavintia, we know you're really good with the previous work you've done. Let's put you specifically in the PTE. Was it just because your previous experience, or was it like maybe Saurian was just not feeling it and he wanted to create the next Terminator series?
Well, I was hired as a game designer, mm-hmm. and the game you can consider me the PTE guy, but I'm the PTE guy because I am making balance changes and putting them on the PTE to throw at people to test them and seeing how they land, and doing that extensively. Like anyone who talks to me in streams or knows me in streams knows I am always hunting for data and more data.
The Uber employees and their data is crazy.
And so it's not so much like they put me in charge of the PTE so much as I hound the PTE because I am.
It's part of your position.
Yeah.
Okay.
The feedback that you've got from watching people's streams, I think, has been really good. And before that, there hadn't been too much interaction. I remember playing a few games with Metabolic and Skatis. But overall, it didn't seem like they were watching that much high-level PA, whereas you are, which is really nice.
I always try to have at least one stream going on my second monitor at work whenever I'm in the office.
Of course.
Good.
Actually, that's an interesting question. What does the Uber office actually look like? Because I know it's a mystical place full of docs running around and boombots kind of scurrying about, harassing people. What is the actual, like, what is the world of Uber? Because all I know is this giant overlying monster that loves data, but, you know, all I know is Tevintia, Jables, Saurian, I think, and maybe there's a fourth. I don't know, but like I only see 3 of you guys. So like, what's the rest of the background? Like, who else is working with you guys?
I mean, so any sort of software development is going to take place in sort of an office environment, but depending on where you're working in game development, you're going to have sort of a more laid back. What's the word I'm looking for here? Environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you might be somewhere where it's like a cubicle farm. Those are less common as far as my limited knowledge goes. But Uber is more, we call it the pit.
Okay.
So just a bunch of terminals.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost, it's like a very organized and sort of very...
It's organized chaos.
Very comfortable LAN party.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
You can kind of consider it that way. It is a more professional, more lived-in LAN party. So like, some people have desk decorations and stuff. I know Jables has he's got like a potted plant or 2 on his desk. I think, I don't know if they're real. There's like action figures and stuff. I actually recently brought a Metal Gear Rex model that my wonderful girlfriend bought me for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I built that and then brought it into work, and it sits proudly on my desk and roars at people.
And you are the king of the nerds at the office.
I mean, we're all nerds here. We're in game development. Like, nobody's there because nobody's there who does not care, like, very passionately about games and technology and other related topics.
I was actually going to ask, how is that, what is it like to have, you're doing your work on one screen, then you have streamers on the other, and, of course, it's no big deal. Everyone seems to just kind of, he's just working. What is that like?
It's a very comfortable environment, and it's very relaxing. I know certain studios will frown upon things like that, but Uber is a very laid-back environment. Working in, which has been really, really wonderful for me, and I really, really appreciate it, because I know it's not necessarily like that in other studios. I've got a friend who was talked to once for watching a stream from other designers talking about like decisions they had made on other game, doing research effectively.
Right.
And he like got a firm talking to from his supervisor about that.
Right.
So it varies wildly depending on where you are, but Uber is fairly laid back. Like, so long as you're doing your work and being productive and you're producing results, they don't tend to. So
it's the best company working on the best game. Fair statement?
I mean, you said it, not me.
Jade Tibble, it's another one of those names with 2 letters at the start that I don't know how to pronounce. He asks on stream chat, did you work with Scathis early on, like when you started for the balance stuff, T-Veneta? And I guess how did you take hold of that once the other people stopped working on it?
So Scathis, I worked very close with when I was starting out as an intern, but sort of as Uber has grown a little bit over the past year and more designers have been hired, he's transitioned more to an overseeing role. I mean, he's the creative director for the studio, and for a long time, like, I remember back when I first joined, I used to joke that we had recently doubled our design team, because at the time, Scathis was the only designer when I was hired. So now that he actually has people to do. He has people to perform tasks and delegate to. He's taken on more of a overseeing and managing role, and like looking more towards the like big picture, high level stuff for the company, while I'm here doing more of the hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to be going quite well.
Yeah, a lot of good improvements so far. I mean, naval, just to start off, I mean, that was fantastic.
It's a good arrangement, and I'm very, very happy that he has more time to just focus more on individual things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to be giving him that time.
Was that enough of a personal interview, Custard? Because I really would like to get into the stuff that he's put a lot of effort in. Is it okay now? Well, I don't know. Stuart, you're finally here. Do you think that was enough? Okay, he's dead. So
Stuart's dead.
Stuart's dead.
I think the final question should be describe your perfect pizza.
I tend to enjoy sausage and plenty of cheese. There's a
Good.
I always feel like a uncultured when I talk about my favorite foods, because it tends to be like franchise, like just things that, like, I don't know. Sometimes people expect me to like have this secret thing that I know of somewhere. Like when I say that I really like burgers, they think that I've found some hole in the wall place somewhere or something. But anyway, I like Uno's, and I like their deep dish pizza, and I like that with sausage and tons of cheese, and I always regret eating it because I don't think those things are meant to be eaten by humans. But oh my god, are they delicious.
I have a better question, and I think this will be better for those trying to get into where...
How could it be better?
It's better. It is better. It is better. What would you recommend, Tavinta, for those that are trying to get into the industry like you? What would you say is their first steps to becoming what you do?
Okay, so...
See, it is better.
This is a question I have been waiting to be asked for years.
You see that? Years, Custer, not a pizza, son.
So, the thing is, the industry changes very rapidly, and like the tools available and all of that stuff. So, what I say here could very easily be invalid, like even in the next 5 years. Like it's always changing. There's always new stuff available. Like when I was trying to break in.
Oh, hey Stuart.
Okay.
Continue, Tavinta.
When I was trying to break in, and just was a high school student with dreams of breaking in and like didn't really know how to do anything. Excuse me. The thing that I was consistently hearing from a lot of people in the industry was like, make mods and make stuff and all this and everything. And like, that's good advice, but it wasn't complete enough to the point where I felt like I had a direction or like really knew what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, with game development, first of all, you want to figure out what you actually want to do, because game development is not, depending on how big your studio is or where you're working, you are not going to be doing everything yourself. And the bigger it gets, the more specialized you are going to have to become. So you kind of need to figure out, first of all, like, are you the guy that wants to be figuring out how to make the game with the tech that allows you to like break the planet and all of this stuff, and like figuring out how to get all of the robots to do all of the like perform strategically and all of this stuff? If you're into that,
right,
you will generally want to learn to code and all of that cool stuff, and you'll want to sort of try to focus on being a programmer. If you're more interested in the rules of the game and like the numbers and just the actual game part of it, and making that like fun and feel good and all of that, you're probably more interested in being a designer. If you're more focused on like how the game looks and making this thing that like really looks cool, like you might
PA?
want to consider, yeah, you might want to consider looking into being an artist. So that's step one, is figuring out what you actually want to do, which is difficult because I had plenty of friends when I was starting out at DigiPen who switched degrees a number of times because they started trying one thing and then realized that they really wanted to do another thing. So that kind of transitions into my next thing is, no matter what you choose to do, every game studio is going to be looking for a portfolio from you. Anyone who is like hiring you or looking to pay you money to make a video game wants proof that you know what you're doing and that you can do what you say you can do. And that's kind of tricky to set up in software development right now, let alone game development. So what you're going to want to do is start building a portfolio. And how do you do that? You start making games. And so that was kind of always the stumbling block for me, is like, well, where do I start? How do I start making games and all this stuff? They told me to make mods, but I don't know what Hammer is. I don't know what C++ are. I can't.
The codes.
So I would personally recommend right now, if you're not modding and you're not like making something that you would be proud to put on a portfolio, like even if you are, I would personally recommend Unity. So Unity is a free game development engine that we actually used on.
Do you have a link for this?
Just Google Unity,
Oh.
and it should, like, Unity
We're gonna
3D.
Google that.
It is a free in trial form, and there's also a professional version, which we actually used to develop Toy Rush and Icarus. That does a lot of very smart things and is very easy to sort of pick up. And there's a lot of learning resources available online that you can use to just kind of get up and get going with it. So anyone who's interested in game development as a potential career, I highly recommend picking up Unity and like just trying to do stuff with it and seeing what you seem to have an aptitude for.
Okay.
And beyond that, once you kind of have a handle on things, start doing game jams. Because a lot of what I see that's really is really a stumbling block for people is they have these grand, big ideas for, like, this is going to be the perfect game, and I'm gonna be the next Notch, and I'm gonna make a ton of money. And it never gets made because it's way beyond the scope of what they can actually make at the time. And it's fine to have those ideas, but the thing is, you don't want to do that as the first thing you're trying to make because you'll never get it done. Like 99% of people that do that will never actually produce anything, let alone like anything that will be very particularly good. So I highly recommend getting into game jams. Because it's something. They're these 24-hour things where you just make a game. You get in a team and you make a game, and it gives you that sort of boot in the ass that you need to just start making things. Like don't be planning and like all this stuff, and you make mistakes, and that's good and that's important because a lot of game development. Especially game design, and really a lot of any artistic discipline as well comes down to experience because you have tried and failed tons and tons and tons of times, and you do it until you can do it right. And that's more what developers tend to look for, as far as I am aware, when they are looking for potential people that they would pay to make video games, is just people that have done it before and have done it a whole lot, which is why sometimes it can seem so intimidating and like impenetrable actually breaking into the game industry, because like all of these people are like, well, I mean, like, required this much experience working in this thing, and blah, 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 blah.
Right, right.
And as an outside observer, you're sitting here like, well, where do I get that if I don't have any experience? And my answer to that is, like, game jams, start doing stuff, building stuff,
Right.
and start building a portfolio out of that.
Okay.
If you can get into a game design or development program at a college somewhere, that can help you, that can give you a head start. Just make sure you are actually making games while you're there. And make sure you are actually trying to finish those games while you're there, because that's very important.
Speaking of games, transitioning after that, which was, thank you very much, Davinta, by the way. I mean, I think that was literally the building blocks for probably every single person that ever showed here. Thank you, actually. Going into the game that you now test, you publicly test, and Jables posts all of your work, even though you do it yourself personally, the PTE, because I want to talk about it, and I want so badly to just start dancing around for this anchor range and this umbrella change. Please, lead us in.
Well, I've been performing some experiments on the PTE. So there's a number of things I want to address with PA that I'm trying to do sort of incrementally, and one of the big changes in this particular recent PTE build are these changes to the commander's economy, and I get a lot of questions about that, so I'll just go ahead and explain here. So, one thing I was consistently noticing watching streams and watching replays and just like reading feedback and everything, there were people on the Steam forums and reviews and such that were consistently complaining like, well, the game's all rushing. There's nothing but rushing and like spamming units and all this stuff.
Rushes custard.
And it just all you do is rush in this game. There's no strategy.
I've definitely had a lot of angry comments after I've won a game in the first 3 minutes, or not won the game, but killed enough fabricators that there's no way they can win within the first few minutes on maps like Forge, and lots of capital letters have been thrown at me through the in-game chat.
Good job.
And the thing is, rushing is okay. Rushing is going to happen in an RTS game, and like rushing is sort of a dirty word and sort of a way for saying like you attacked me before I was ready when people are angry. But it's also like
strategy.
It's a strat. I mean, yeah.
Early aggression is something that will happen in RTS games, and like sort of this opening gambit. So, however, I realized it was happening fairly consistently in pretty much most of the competitive games I was watching in the live build, and realizing that a lot of the time the player who was exhibiting early aggression would then capitalize on that and take map control because they would just keep piling on the units.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to the realization that there isn't really a downside to rushing in the live build right now. So comparing it to a common example like StarCraft, you can do something like a Zerg Rush or a Six Pool or something, and pour a bunch of resources into creating a standing army as fast as possible and just sending that at the enemy base to take out as much of their builders and harvesters and all of that as possible, and try to cripple them. But if they repel that initial force, you are now behind. You have now put yourself at a significant disadvantage by doing that. And in PA, you build a bunch of factories, you build a bunch of docks in the live build right now, and you send those docks to the opponent, and they might do damage, they might not. If they don't do damage, you build more docks, and you probably already have another docks wave waiting, so you just send more docks.
So this isn't as much of a deterrent as it makes it. If you're gonna do a rushing strategy, it makes it so it's a lot more risky if it fails.
Right. So there isn't a risk in the live build right now to rushing. There's no. It's not a gamble at all. It's just a thing that you do. So the intention behind these commander changes is primarily, like, in addition to a number of small things, but primarily they are intended to give the commander and give the player plenty of economy to start out with and start the base with, but less economy to actually sustain a base with. So you can still do that early aggression strategy and pull off a rush and everything, and because there is less sustainability, like actually doing damage to your opponent's economy early on will be more effective. But if you don't actually manage to do that damage and your opponent repels your attack, you have sort of hamstrung your economy and therefore your exponential growth, and you have now put yourself behind your opponent.
Okay. I know as we're going through this, Custer, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything, but of course I've been just kind of gushing over it about the Anchor's different site, because as we were talking before the stream, Tavinta, you were explaining about how they have, what was the correct word you used? The cones, I believe?
So they all have capsules.
Capsules.
For their reign.
Right, and as he was explaining, what would usually happen is for some of these planets when they're really small or they might be really large, the capsules on top for the anchors on top for the anchors and below for the umbrellas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the umbrellas would have, their normal capsules, so they could shoot in this straight range. I'm going to make it with my hands, keep my face over here. So they could keep this, perfect. They'll hit everything in this area. But what would happen is on these smaller planets, the anchor capsule, which is, of course, above the planet, since it is smaller, it would actually get tilted a little bit so that it could actually shoot what would normally be what it normally wouldn't be able to. So it could have, I guess it would be safer to say, more range than an umbrella. And trying to, of course, counter anchor, that can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. But with this new PT that I really do hope gets pushed, it will make it so that the umbrella range is drastically larger. Let me pull up the real numbers. So we have the defense satellite, or the anchor, has been increased from 600 to 600 from 280, and the umbrella from 300 to 500. So definitely helping the vision issues and all of the wonderful special cones and all the important things that, of course, as a filthy casual like myself, I would never understand.
And I can talk about the orbital intelligence changes as well, if you would like.
If you could, please, yes.
Okay, so another thing in the live build right now that concerns me about orbital is you kind of you either have no information essentially, or you have perfect information. Perfect information, when discussing game design, is that this is a thing that you know for 100% certain that this thing is like this, and it's over here, and it's doing this. And basically, you have either invested the 300 metal in an orbital deep space radar, and you can see everything in the orbital layer ever, and you know exactly what's going on at any given time, just so long as you have, like, awareness of the map and are actually, like, moving your camera around to look at it. Or you haven't invested that, and you don't know what's going on, and everybody thinks you're stupid. So, in order to address that, I have, in the PTE, removed the Celestial Observer's power to just, like, to see everything on the orbital layer. And instead, if you have a Celestial Observer, you can see everything that's moving in between planets, but only as a blip, so you don't know what's actually coming
Oh my
at you.
goodness.
Like that could be unit cannon fire, that could be a bunch of Astraeus, that could be a bunch of Avengers. Those
It could be a
scissors.
nuke.
Well,
I think nukes still. I
Oh,
believe
they're still
nukes
notified? Okay. 'Cause, like,
yeah.
I'm just seeing,
And
like...
also,
ahead,
you
go
can
ahead.
kind of tell by the speed of the dots on your radar.
you can.
That's true. I mean, I think that's good because that...
You can guess, but it's more difficult to grok immediately.
Because I'm thinking of some of these late games where you're at like 45, 50 minutes, each player has like 1,000,000 metal, and they're just launching like 50 or 60 nukes at each other, and all you see are these blips, and you're like, oh, it's just unit cannons, you know, I've got umbrellas, no big deal. And then suddenly you just hear the radioactive song, and it's just, oh no, and then everything just turns into a nice little mushroom cloud.
I believe nukes are still global, but global view. But
I mean, it'd be funny either way.
I'm a liar and a drunk. No idea what I'm talking about, but I think that's the case. So So the idea behind this is twofold. It's so unless you are actively scouting and you like are watching your celestial view and everything like that, if somebody has expanded to another planet, like you can't tell, you don't know where their base is because you just see, oh, there's a bunch of stuff in the orbital layer over this thing. He's over there. Clearly, he has colonized. Like, you can easily grok right now. Like, it's not just that you know exactly where everything is on the orbital, is you can extrapolate a lot of information from what you see on the orbital layer. Like, if you just see a planet that is covered in
Pinging the little notification things that I guess you'll be adding.
well, just like if you are seeing a planet that is just covered in Avengers and anchors and all of this stuff, you know that person has been on there for a while. They have fortified it very heavily, and you know that for 0 effort. You know that for 300 metal on some random place that you have dug in on that takes pretty much no effort to defend. So I want to allow for more subterfuge in the orbital game, and more sneakiness, and more just a little more paranoia, essentially.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of screaming on my stream. It's like, what is that? Oh, they're SSX. Oh great, now they're nukes. Oh great, it's just unit cannons. Ah!
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how it plays in large scale games.
There's gonna be a lot of mind games that get played out for sure. The next thing I wanted to point out, because placement size. I noticed that there's a lot of vehicle factory, air factory, bot factory, naval factory, advanced naval factory. What are these placement sizes? I remember playing in the PTE and everything just seemed smaller. Is it just you just shrank all the buildings down? Like
so the placement size is essentially the footprint that the building leaves. So it is not actually how big the collision for the building is, but it's sort of how much space the building needs around itself to exist and like allowed to actually be built. And those changes are sort of intended to reduce congestion in base building and like allow the commander and other units to get around bases easier, because right now you build a wall of factories and it is a wall. Like there is, you can kind of trickle some docks through it, but that's about it.
Right.
Whereas in the PTE right now, you build a line of factories. Your units can get through it pretty easily and can navigate through it. And if there's like docks trying to run around behind them and all of this stuff, it's not as big of a pain to actually get at them.
Right. Okay. I believe the next thing that we were sort of gonna mention was
can I go back to the commander things a bit?
Of course.
Yeah, because I don't think most people realize how
big
much
of a
has
change
actually
it is?
changed with the commander and how much it affects early game
Sure. Well, I mean, by all means.
in the PTE. So the energy and metal production was lowered from the commander. At one point in development for PA, it was tripled a while ago, and
my
that
goodness.
got people from doing like a few metal extractors and power generators and then a factory to going just 2 factories at the start.
Right, right.
When that was tripled, and it was never really tweaked back. And now in this PTE, it has been tweaked back. It's gone to in-between values. So the commander produces 2,000 energy and 20 metal instead of 3,030. And
But what do the numbers mean, Custard?
what does that mean? Well, that means that when you start a game, your objective in the first minute isn't going to be just make as much stuff as you can, because you won't be able to make like 3 factories and then keep them going, and it's going to slow down the first minute or so of the game, which will be really good because for a new player, it isn't obvious that when you start right now in the stable build, you should like build a factory and then assist out 2 or 3 fabricators just so you can spend all your economy as quickly as possible.
Right.
And it will be a bit more gradual at the start, and it will be nicer for people basically. The games will be a little bit slower at the start, so casters might have a couple of minutes of talking to do, which is maybe positive, maybe negative. But also, the commander storage was massively increased. So for metal, it's 1,000 to 1,500, which is nearly enough for a whole extra factory.
Yeah,
that is quite a
bit.
lot. And the energy storage is up from 20k to 45k in the PTE right now, which is really big. So
do we have like how much that would be worth, like in like number of fabricators that can be used while assuming that you're not building?
Well, that's storage, so that's like how much.
Right,
Not like how many
much...
fabricators you could support at that time. It's
until
like
you
how
hit,
much.
until you hit 0.
I don't know exactly how much that would be, but when I've been playing in the PT, it's been like I could still assist out a fabricator for my first factory and build with it. But I would have to make energy storage, and then just as I got those, I'd have to make energy plants, and as soon as I got those up, my energy will like be running out.
So it's just enough to like get that extra unit out, but it's not enough.
Well, it's like just enough to start a small base, but it's not enough to then have 4 bot factories and spamming docks. So it is kind of stopped the rushing in that sense. And yeah, it's a big change. Anyone who hasn't played in the PTE, you'll probably be stalling hard at like 50% efficiency first time you try it.
Speaking of PT,
it'd be good if you did. Yeah?
Speaking of PT, I believe that's what we're going to be jumping into for the next part of this little fiasco.
Well, one more thing. I just saw in the chat.
All right, go ahead.
Mott just mentioned that the energy storage means that at the start of the game you can Uber Cannon a lot, but then because you're producing less, it might actually hurt you a little bit more really early on, but you can do it. So you can spam the Uber Cannon at the start.
Free spam all day, baby.
And the Uber Cannon is something that I kind of want to be changed in PA, so now might be a good time to mention it. I think it's too spammy.
Yeah.
And it should have like a negative. Well, not really a negative, just instead of having a commander upgrade like in Supreme Commander, you would have energy storage that you'd build or extra energy plants so that you could support your commander's Uber Cannon. If you wanted to use them in combat, you build a little bit more energy so you could use them. And that's like an indirect commander upgrade, which I would really like to see, whereas right now it's just spam it as much as you can, try and hit stuff.
Well, I think maybe that's the way that it currently is, like how to ward off the early docks is just have your commander walk out and just make sure that he's like a physical wall almost.
Yeah. Right now, when you start the game, your commander is good, and when you go, the further you go into the game, your commander gets worse and worse in combat compared to the armies. And I'd like the commander to scale a bit more up by having things like, well, it's already been helped actually recently with the combat fabricator change.
Oh my goodness.
That's like an indirect upgrade commander.
The dogs
that's like,
are beautiful.
That's like having regen on your commander if you have combat fighters behind him.
Plus the mines.
So I remember. Nice. Oh yeah, and the mines.
The mines last week, or 2 weeks ago, how we were talking about how having the skitter is going to be really important. I've actually seen quite a few Uber players now using mines. I mean, very commonly.
Yeah, and we saw them in Clan Wars today as well.
Yes.
Mines.
So it's nice to see that while they weren't like lynched and there were pitchforks and riots in the forums, but it was a lot more graciously accepted. I mean, it definitely was a nice, easy transition where I mean, Custard, you were very concerned about it last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I thought it was too much of a a double whammy. I hate that expression. With the, I don't think they can be seen by radar still. So
I think only the skitters.
skitters and
Scout
other
planes.
fabricators.
Yeah.
So yeah, because the radar range was reduced so much that like it didn't need to not be able to see mines anymore because it already can't see them because its range is reduced enough that you can't see them in enemy base anyway. So I thought it was. I still think it's a bit too much, but I do like the fact that mines are more powerful now. So that's good at least.
I don't know. I'm still going back to the radar. I'm still kind of iffy because, especially on DATs, I think no duats, where you spawn in and you got the 3 cracks that confirm the Illuminati exists in Uber. It's just enough range to cover the circle of your little base, but it's like, you know, I know what's in my base, and I know, I think the whole idea was for proxies, but when I'm trying to run around with docks and tanks, it's like getting a fabricator out there to safely build a proxy radar, which will then let me know one corner of his Illuminati triangle is a safe-ish place to attack. It's like, it's just not worth for me at my, you know, horrible, filthy gold level.
Well, it's kind of good because it's brought back scouting a bit. I still haven't seen too much scouting from people. I think people are still getting used to the fact that you have to use scouts more now.
Yeah, actually,
whenever I build docks blobs now, I try and put a skitter in. I build like a vehicle factory. A few times I've started with a vehicle factory to get the skitters for scouting and gone to bot factories to spam loads of docks. But like, I will forget to put the skitter in with the dock still. I can't, like, my brain only knows pure docks. That's all it knows.
It can't have that impurity of the vehicles slowly seeping in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I believe the other thing besides having Tavinta graciously grace us with his presence, we were gonna actually go to the PTE and try some of this out, and hopefully I can survive against the Doc's assault. Is that a thing? I mean, is everyone ready for that?
I'm ready.
I've got the map up.
Alright, so let me pull up my PA, make sure that everyone can see this, because I don't even know. Yeah, there it is. Perfect. Alright, so let me refresh the local lobby. Now, I believe... go ahead.
Hopefully this will work.
Oh, we're playing on...
Again, I have that gypsy curse.
I forgot about the gypsy curse.
Okay, good so far.
I'm gonna need some spec slots just to get in here.
Were you gonna play, or was I...
I mean, if you want to play against Custard, what I was hoping was you could sort of talk as we were playing and just kind of explain what we're doing and just elaborate, well, you know, the big changes that have happened to Styx, because I know the whole idea of what we were going to do was, you know, talk about the big changes with Styx, but then I was like, we've got Tavinta, he's friggin' Jesus, I mean, why bother?
Anita.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Tavinita.
You've gotten used to the one way.
Stuart, will you be joining us today?
Yeah.
Excellent. So we might need another spec slot then. This is gonna be interesting because what I can probably do is I can take my headphones off so that I can't hear you guys talking about the match, but you know.
I can mute Skype, but I don't think I think them talking about it will be fine.
Okay. Alright, well, yeah. Because I just didn't want to, like... You know, obviously I'm gonna just, like, mop the floor. I mean, you can't see my hands, but they're pretty, like... Of course.
I'm writing stuff down.
Oh god, he's got the book. He's got the notepad, it's all over.
Numbers.
Numbers for days, boy.
I need to do more theory crafting about the start build still.
Maybe that can be a little section
I haven't come up with like a perfect start yet. It is, from what I was kind of seeing and what I kind of explained, the energy increase is like the main one. That's so big. that, for me at least, when I try and build some stuff, I'll build it and then not have enough energy to support it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, it's tricky to get the bounce because I'm going so hard with the eco at the start from what I've been trying with 3 fabricators.
Maybe you just need to stop rushing all the time.
Well, I need to consume all of that storage as quickly as possible.
Right.
So I have to get out as
So there's
much.
a very fine line that you have to dance on just to get it, that perfect.
Yeah, and it's definitely more forgiving for the casual players, but for for people who are trying to
For the
play
filthy
perfectly.
casuals, it's no big deal, but for us, uber.
No, I mean the PT changes are good for people who aren't trying to
goodness.
get out an army like in the fastest possible time.
Right.
People who aren't.
Oh my
people who are playing
goodness.
for fun, basically. This isn't a game for me.
Holy map changes, T.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know we played on Forge, but man, there is nothing protecting you now. It's like...
This ain't right.
It's alright. It doesn't look right.
I was gonna say, what happened to my nice little, like, shell?
Yeah, sometimes it does that. One moment.
Okay, so just leave. Safe to say, just pull it.
Yep.
Will this be the next thing, the next gen maps for Uber?
I hope you've surrendered rather
Yeah,
than
I
just
did.
starting the game. I don't really like that. I think if you surrender before the game starts, it just shouldn't start. It shouldn't spawn your commander, then instantly explode. I don't like seeing him.
But who won?
Oh, good point. Who won?
Please? Uber, please? Tell us, please? I think the... Oh,
Yes!
damn. Good game. Good game, well fought.
Yeah.
Can we have, like, an upgraded explosion size? Like, I know that's just, like, graphics and it's not very small, but, like, at least in, Supreme Commander, I mean, when the commander exploded, I mean, you knew he exploded.
The explosions in Supreme Commander were really good, and like they were individual for each commander. Like I imagine that took a lot of work.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying, like, a huge explosion, like a bigger explosion, because right now, I think it's only slightly larger than the nuke's explosion.
I think it's the same size actually, but different
Just
color.
different colors,
and
yeah.
I don't think the explosion should look significantly bigger because in game the explosion radius is actually smaller than the nuke and it does a lot less damage than the nuke, so it shouldn't look like it's going to blow up off the planet.
I just like, when you kill a commander and you see that just big mushroom cloud, it's like, but it could be bigger.
Maybe.
Maybe it'd be a nice little mod or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
A UI mod or something, Killer, get on it, please.
I'd like to see the edge of the commander explosion radius be more gradual with the damage, so that well, it basically just doesn't do much right now. The commander explosion.
Yeah, I
It's a
mean,
bit pathetic.
well, I mean,
It kills energy plants now,
Yeah.
which is nice.
That's nice. Especially when, you just like, have you guys ever played in one of those maps where, like, it's a spawn anywhere and you guys, you always manage to spawn next to somebody even though you think it's, like, that perfect spot? And then you just kind of, like...
No, I always spawn next to people because every time I play one of those games I spawn on the best possible location.
Okay, so then, assuming you're clustered here and you have spawned and somehow they've, like, 3v1'd you and you just start kamikazing your commander in because there's nothing else you can do. It'd just be like maybe a bit more, like you said, a larger radius, because I mean you're gonna lose your commander. It is a team game. Just trying to take more things with you, I mean, it obviously isn't the best choice, but I mean it's the best choice in a worse situation,
Yeah. Right now it's even hard to take an army with you.
Yeah.
Like if there's a blob of 50 tanks.
Mhm.
And they see your commander, they'll just like turn and run.
Yeah, and then just
Trying to
hit you.
trying to chase them, and like you'll take out just a few on the edge.
Yep.
One explosion isn't very big.
Yep.
Is that how's the map going?
Getting there.
Okay.
Okay.
Feel free to ask me questions or whatever you want to do.
Well, how did you come up with the different matches? 'Cause I know, at least for certain matches, there's just different builds that are better for than other ones. Like Forge, for example. I mean, obviously, naval really isn't the best option on a planet like that. Moonboats will eventually become a thing, but they're just not yet. So like, how did you just try and build a planet to cater to a specific build you wanted to see that the players, as having a map pool of I think 5 or 6 now. Each one has its own little special ability or special build. I mean, is it you just trying to cater to certain builds, or are you just trying to have an overall a good balanced map?
So, generally, when I'm designing a new map, I tend to first, I tend to have something in my head, some sort of game that I'm trying to produce or encourage. So, taking Styx as an example, Styx was originally designed. Hang on, let me type here.
Well, I mean, obviously, it was designed to go orbital while he's typing. It was.
So,
there we go.
It was designed. Gotta save this. Make sure this is saved. It was designed at a time when orbital was kind of a dirty word in the meta. When like you would have to be a crazy person to go orbital or like
Elodia,
another planet, or like do anything in a 1v1 setting. Do anything to do with orbital ever. Like there were people when I was first testing Styx that literally like could not play orbital, that did not know how to play orbital because they disliked it so much.
Right.
And the thing is I need data. I need people to tell me what's wrong and what they don't like if I'm going to fix any of these things. So I need people to play orbital. So I started thinking about, well, what can I do to force orbital?
You will play this style and like it.
So okay, force is a strong word. Force was kind
Encourage.
of the intention back when Styx first came out, because like there was a very, very strictly established meta, and that meta did not include orbital at all.
Right.
So it started as this idea where Styx needed to be something that you could how do I put this? It needed 2 things to produce orbital gameplay. It needed a very, very strong incentive to expand to the to the other planet.
That.
It's got that.
And it needed to be relatively easy to defend long enough to actually expand to that other planet without making the starting planet appealing enough that nobody would want to expand it. You may remember some of the early iterations of Berg actually featured a moon. And nobody ever used that moon.
Of course.
Nobody used that moon, and in fact, anybody tried to use that moon, they lost doing it.
I remember there was a tournament at one point where there was a large ice planet that had tons of metal on that you started on, and something like 20 minutes into the game, a moon would smash into it and destroy both planets, or destroy the ice planet maybe. So you could. Oh no, it was 3 planets. It sounds like I'm making this up as I go along, but I definitely remember it. 2 planets smashed, and the idea was you try and get your commander off before that happened while trying to kill your opponent. And I played Elodia on that, and I just kept killing his orbital launchers. So he spent so much economy trying to make those and on fabricators and stuff that I could then build my own a few minutes afterwards and get my commander off just in time. It was quite a close game, but like the orbital stuff didn't pay for itself in any way apart from in situations like that where you would try to get your commander off a planet, or if you needed to get to an annihilator or off planet to get any sort of metal, You had to have a really, really strong reason to do it.
I think Styx pretty much covers that. I mean,
Yeah.
no, it's not. Cerberus is the actual lava planet that you spawn on, correct? Or is it the other way around?
I can't
Hades
remember.
is the lava planet, and Cerberus is the Annihilator.
Just trying to test it right now.
Mhm.
Make sure it all saved properly.
Custard, you know, of course, since you're such a good
I
player.
don't do names really. Uh,
Well, then maybe I don't know, Tivintia.
numbers. But I don't-
The
Say again?
name of the planets, is it Hades is the Annihilator and Cerberus is the lava planet, or is it the other way around?
Correct.
Oh, so Hades. Which one is Hades? Just I'll ask that.
Hades is the metal planet.
There we go. Okay. I have no idea where I was going with this. Oh yes. So. Oh God, I forgot which one's which. So the lava planet is really painful to play on. I mean, I think anyone that plays on Styx knows it's really painful, but getting to the Annihilator, it's really nice. So I think both of those incentives were definitely well met, with the other planet being very nice to get to, and then the starting planet being pretty crummy. I mean, not like in balance wise,
I think
but like
painful is a slightly bad word. I would say not worth it.
not worth
Another
it.
word for not worth it.
Inefficient, ineffective.
I don't even.
inert.
But yeah, I'd reserve the word painful for things
Poor
like
idea.
leveler micro.
Oh, yeah, that's
With the turning
painful.
around.
Okay. Putting the game up.
All right.
Yay.
So, the ideal that I wanted to create with Styx, which has not quite been achieved yet, which is why I'm running through some new iterations, was to sort of create a war on two fronts.
Mhm.
You would have... The idea was to have both players simultaneously fighting on both planets. And that was not what was produced by the resource imbalance on the two different planets, and that's not what you see in the live build right now. What you see is one player takes the metal planet and then holds the metal planet until they invade the lava planet.
Okay.
And that's just sort of how it goes. So the intention with these new iterations is to make the resource distribution between the two planets a little more even, and therefore give the player that stays on the lava planet and takes the lava planet, make sure they don't fall behind quite as quickly and have more of a chance to actually catch up and build up an invasion force.
Okay.
And not having global orbital intelligence will also help with this.
I still haven't really tried out the orbital intelligence game in the few games that I've had on Styx recently.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot of data on that on the PT, which I very,
Yeah.
very much need. So, more
Yeah.
big games on PT would be awesome.
Well, actually, while on the topic of needing more people to get into the PTE, how do they get into the PTE, Tivintia?
Chivinita!
Sound effects.
Is Kiwi roughly a match for
Probably.
Yeah.
Kiwi should get in here. We should drag Kiwi into this.
Okay, I'll just go
So you
cry in the
can-
corner
you can
now.
Cast. Oh wait, but he's in the call, so he's gonna. Okay, never mind.
Well, I can mute myself, or he can mute himself, and then we'll be good.
Could do that.
Yeah.
I'm
Stuart, move.
Hang on. Spec slots.
My UI still loading up. Give me a second.
Oh my God, Stuart, you're the problem every time. I'm kidding.
There we go.
Yay! All right. So let's try and drag Kiwi out of the chat spot and get him in here. Some nice melodic background music that I found so that we can just kind of sit here and listen to elevator music. It's really nice. Alright, so waiting on Kiwi. I guess. Well, Custard, have you actually played on sticks? In the PTE sticks?
Yes.
Okay, so then has Kiwi? Because I mean, actually, one of the things that I was gonna ask was like, are both sides sort of evenly matched? Because I know, Tevintia, when we were playing on that really large dual spawn, which I really love, I'm not gonna lie, which I was casting with Lucky Red. I mean, just the idea of the knowing where your opponent is, knowing just even spawns can be really important.
Yeah, out of all of the maps I've been experimenting with, I believe the one with the dual spawns. I don't know a name for the system yet, but I'm calling that plant Thanatos. I know that.
Kick ass.
That one's probably a winner, and the really small moon seems to be producing some very interesting and unique games.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit on the fence if they are unique enough that it would be better if that map were included in the default system list and left out of the ranked map. But I mean, I believe the ranked pool should showcase players being skilled at any situation of the game.
Right,
it should
right.
be testing both macro and micro. So, and people seem to think it's very fun, and it produces some very unique,
yeah, like
and
rushing
interesting games.
slammers.
Yeah, rushing T2 on very limited eco and winning with that.
Speaking of maps that you're creating, is there anything that you are working on currently that we can have a bit of a taste, I guess?
I mean, just these map iterations and these new,
there we go.
those new experimental maps.
Will you be continuing to work on these like dual spawns, or do you think?
I mean,
go ahead.
We'll have to see. So the intention behind the dual spawn map was twofold. It was to experiment with larger scale maps that unlike Meso,
Right.
were not based on continents and had less of a focus on naval.
Okay.
And I think we're good to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Shall I mute
Alrighty.
myself so I can hear you?
Okay. Good luck if you can't hear it anyways.
Okay.
Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We have a 1v1. There we go. Now, there's the nice... Yeah, that lava spawn was very interesting.
So there's one extra pair of metal on Cerberus in this one, and a very much adjusted metal distribution on Hades. Down towards, I want to say 55.
I believe you can just ping.
7-ish.
Spawn metal is imba. Oh, really? Does?
Hate
2, 4,
that.
6, 8, 2.
It's a handicap. It'll be fine.
Well, if you can beat Custard as is, then I mean, all the more power to Kiwi.
Yeah. Sometimes the metal spot.
Can you guys see that?
Can we keep playing, or should we?
Let's just go with
Yeah,
it.
just go.
Just go.
I
with it.
can't see anything.
I think you're probably still rendering, Stuart.
No, like I can see the planet. I can't see any player data. I think it's an extension of the bug where you die and then you can't change vision. However, it happened. No, the game. Oh, duh. Never mind. We're good. I'm a derp. Ignore me.
You forgot that.
I'm going to go sit in a corner and feel
Alright.
bad.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Spawning in on the northern hemisphere of the planet, we have Realm's Burnt Custard. And his opponent spawning in on the southern side, we have, I believe it's Donger, I think that's the correct clan, Killer Kiwi Juice. Yes. Raise thine Dongers. So, both players...
I always thought that clan tag was meant to be Danger.
I did
thought
too.
that was a great name for a clan.
Nope.
The Dangers.
It's Donger.
It's Donger, though, yep.
I think it might
That sigh.
be plan. I don't know.
That sigh of disappointment. I heard that. Both players, though, opening quite differently. It looks like Killer Kiwi, or not Killer Kiwi, but Burnt Custard trying to go with a lot more Fabricators in his opening, while it looks like Killer Kiwi's going to use his Commander to build some of the energy with his Fabricators slowly building out. So both players already going for completely different styles, so maybe the meta will be decided already. Fabrication count, though, we can already see that just because
Killer Kiwi Juice's bot factory is idle.
Uh-oh. Can he not... He's even notifying it, so...
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Grenadiers.
Grenadiers, so...
Interesting.
Maybe he was actually reading the PTE builds and he saw that the Grenadiers did have a bit of a buff. Now, I know that they do have that nice AoE. Can't fire something in here, but it shows in the preview.
I think he means bit.
Oh, that's right. I believe
Trying to build another bot factory. Yeah, it's that bug that everyone's been bugging Master Digital about.
And
this one Dox coming around here is going to be able to kill both of these Fabbers.
No, I don't think so. I think what Custard's trying to... There he goes. He's gonna see it.
There we go.
He's gonna see it, but I don't think it's enough damage to actually kill, though, because he's got these Grenadiers here.
There isn't any Dox, there isn't any Grenadiers, there isn't anything.
Oh, that other one coming around.
Yeah. This is one of the things I noticed being a huge issue with Grenadiers is their shots don't actually trace like they used to, and I mean, as long as you have good micro, I mean, as you can see, the Grenadier shots are just going AWOL. There's really not much that these Grenadiers can do, and if we just take a quick look, Kiwi is going for vehicles now, trying to get that nice secure slow push tank ability, but having to switch into the air to get some bombers, possibly to try and reduce the Dox count, while Burnt Custard is actually switching into an orbital. So we will be getting to see some orbital play here, thankfully, which is fantastic. I think both players, though, going to go for orbital, completely proving me wrong, and I think Killer has actually secured his base once again.
Yeah, looks,
but he lost
those Dox coming in over on the...
Anyway, so since we're seeing so many Grenadiers coming out, would TV Nita like to talk about what he sees the role of Grenadiers as being?
So Grenadiers were introduced way back in... I'm not even sure because I was focused more on Toy Rush at the time, but I believe it was in Gamma?
Goodness.
But don't quote me on that.
It was in mid-May.
It was a long time ago in a
something.
patch far, far away.
Yeah, and they were originally introduced as a base assault unit back when turtling was much stronger in PA.
Advanced turtling.
And their whole advantage was they could shoot over walls early in the game, and so that formed their role. And recently, their role, something changed somewhere, such that their role was superseded by everything else in the game because everything else could shoot over walls.
They've never been useful.
Well,
So-
I don't know, because I've seen, I don't remember the player who did it, but he opened with...
They were only useful during the Combat Pepper patch, and then their cost was nerfed after the Combat Pepper patch, which made them no longer used.
I would say that that's wrong, because I've been playing a couple matches, and if you open up with the bot factory, then go with combat fabbers and have them build walls, the tank units and the Dox units can't actually shoot the Grenadiers because they are lower than the wall, so when the bullet tries to hit the tank unit or the whatever happens behind the wall, it's gonna actually get absorbed by the wall, and then the Grenadiers can just have a heyday. So while it's much harder...
Grenadiers really weren't useful from the June balance patch up until the January balance patch that
So
gave
anyway,
them...
Hang on, we've got
minor
Avengers
buff.
just eyeing each other here. Hang on. Well, I think they're just using mean words to each other. They're not actually trying to kill the other. They're just...
their
Yeah,
position.
they're just eyeing each other now.
So
if you increase the Avenger guard radius, TV Nita, I think that would really help them out a lot. Increasing the guard radius, I don't know.
I recently increased the guard radius on some of the orbital units, but there's some things that need to be done with Avengers.
I think they're higher.
On my to-do list.
I think I know what the problem is. They're higher than the other units. They just can't shoot each other. If you scroll down, the second Avenger that came out from... Yeah, they're in a higher orbit. That's what's the problem is. They just can't shoot each other because they're like 50,000 feet above the atmosphere. I was wondering why this other Avenger seems
that
smaller.
I will bring up.
Above the atmosphere.
Uber, please.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, actually, this has happened a couple of times when I was playing a few matches where the Avengers would start looking at each other and then they would just get higher and higher than Cloud9, and it went to a point where it was almost easier just to reclaim them with fabricators than trying to kill them with other Avengers. Taking a look though at the metal planet, excuse me, it looks like Custard has gotten his teleporter down. His commander building a lot of docks here, while almost surprisingly just as close, Killer Kiwi managing to get his commander down with an Astraeus, which personally I think that's incredibly risky, but obviously at the level of play, I guess he just believed in himself, trying to get the bot factory out. So I think we're going to see bot factories fighting bot factories while on the lava planet, excuse me. Custard coming out with a lot of docks while his tanks are actually kind of out of position, but I mean, in this situation, I mean, it's the only thing he can really do.
I can't really tell where Kiwi is sort of diverting his attention, because I feel like there's a lot of oversight being made in a number of areas here, but then again, I can say this with actually knowing
with the clarity of the caster abilities, of course.
Yeah. But I feel like Kiwi is going for more of a defensive.
A lot of docks about to die.
Oh, and the docks fall.
So I feel
Three of
like
them
Kiwi's trying to dig in and
easily
defend
get eaten up by these docks.
Stuart.
And defend a position on sticks here, but for that, in this patch in particular, you really want static defenses for that, especially now that walls, most units can't shoot over the walls. So
that's really nice, yeah.
So it's very easy to just wall off an entrance to your base and stick a turret or two behind it. Even just a single barrel turret behind walls, behind a thick bunch of walls, could have probably taken care of that dock swarm pretty effectively.
Okay, that's actually pretty big, because I know a lot of times you can just focus down the turrets even though they are behind the walls. Some of the rounds might hit the walls, but yeah, like you said, most of the times it just kind of takes out whatever happens to be behind them. So glad to hear that is something you have fixed. An umbrella, though, interestingly enough here for burnt Custard over his base. Kiwi knowing exactly where Custard is and his commander is, but Custard not knowing where Kiwi is. So a bit of a mind game going on, and the real question is, will Kiwi try and hold the lava planet, which I think he should, because there are a few metal extractors here, but I don't think he should try and continue to fight. I think he should maybe...
Custard has found Kiwi.
Ah, perfect. I think what Kiwi needs to do on the lava planet, at least, is, like you said, turtle up, maybe make this just a foothold for if the Annihilator... If he does fight and he does end up winning the Annihilator, then he can come back and he can use his foothold on the lava planet to try and, clean up the forces of Kiwi, or of Custard. The biggest thing that I'm noticing is Custard really isn't that hard expanding. I mean, there is a lot of metal here, on the lava planet, of course, but I mean, a lot of the metal that normally would be taken by the, I would want to say better positioned player, he doesn't seem to be really taking that. Maybe it's just because it's too risky. Maybe it just seems like it's very out of position.
It's also possible that he's just not paying attention to that. So a lot of what I'm observing with these high-level players playing on multi-planet systems in a 1v1 scenario is there are a lot of multitasking skills in the pro level that have kind of atrophied because of the scale of games that 1v1s have been played on for a while, and compared to the pace of what those games were back when you actually were seeing these larger scale games.
Right. I would also
that was a really good Uber cannon.
Yeah. I was also going to like to point out the new walls have been changed to almost look like shields, which I think a lot of people are just ecstatic to see.
So that is a stylistic change that derives from you've always been able to shoot through walls. That's just always happened, and that's never made a whole lot of sense, and it's been super weird. So we decided when we so we were gonna make the walls taller to make sure units can't shoot over them.
Right.
And one thing we were running into was like, well, people are gonna complain that you can shoot through walls now because it's a lot more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to go with like, oh, there's a force field that's tuned to a frequency, nanobots,
Nanobot technology holding it all together, and that one
thing.
lucky shot that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, your bullets pass through, their bullets don't. And that's immediately clear to most players. Is like, oh, there's a force field.
Yeah, force field
Star
logic.
Wars
I mean,
did that thing.
Yeah. Star Wars did that thing where my bullet gets to go through and yours doesn't because my shield likes me more than you.
Yeah, it's basic sci-fi.
Of course. Looking at
that has led to discussion about energy and whatnot. But
which makes sense. I mean, obviously having a shield or energy-based wall, which that would obviously just naturally come into it. I also noticed that a lot of the units, especially these docks here that are trying to break down this wall, they are like just straight shooting up and almost trying to hit the top of this thing instead of, I would want to almost call the center or the middle of it. Is that just because of the cones as we referenced earlier, or is that just
that
how...
is a complicated
very elaborate and painful subject?
That is a complicated bunch of stuff involving the just how units find targets in PA, and a lot of that is tied to like having to make sure they can fire on a curve, because the thing is, none of these units can fire. You don't want them firing at the bottom of something, because then their bullets are going to collide with a hill or something that's in front of the shot. Turns out, actually trying to put together an RTS on a sphere and making it play well and like simulating that, compared to on a flat plane, is pretty difficult. And I am astounded by the strides that the dev team has made and had made even before I joined up the project. And I've always believed in them and put all of my hopes and dreams in them. And that's why I actually, while I was still in college, backed PA for $50 way back when. Right. And now I'm working on it, and that's pretty cool.
That's always nice. $50, become the PT developer for the entire system. It's pretty cool.
Oh, this is gonna be rough on Kiwi unless.
I don't know. I believe in these walls. A nice Uber shot or two.
If he can.
I don't.
Thanks,
Just
Stuart.
saying.
I want to believe in the Uber shots. Like you had stated, the Uber shots are still very spammable, and just like that, I mean, one or two Uber shots can easily clean
Advanced Factory
this
is
up.
atrophying.
Oh, it's uninstalling itself. Oh, the Advanced Factory. I'm so sorry. Good night. But I think he's gonna be okay as long as these Ubers are good enough.
I don't. I've already said that, but.
I'm gonna believe because I know Killer Kiwi can do it. Oh, the boombots though. Oh, that's gonna be
Yeah, he's dead.
I'm gonna pin it on the boombots because he was really concerned about those.
So, fixing that middle spot. This was actually a very interesting game for me because, as I was saying, trying to go for that war on two planets. And that was sort of what we were witnessing here. The main two things that went wrong with that were Kiwi had stunted growth at the beginning. Yep. And Kiwi went to Hades with Anastraeus, whereas Custard went to
Hades
with
teleporter,
with the orbital fabricator that he could then use to rapidly expand onto Hades. So he expanded much faster than Kiwi on that planet, and that's something that I need to look into, but I'm still thinking about.
The orbital fabricators are amazing because early on in the game, like if you're rushing orbital on that map, they're really efficient energy-wise, so I didn't have to build so many energy plants to get so much production up on the metal planet. Also, I had a stuck fabricator or two on the lava planet. I was like trying to expand out because I knew.
Do you know about what time?
Yeah, I'll find it. I felt like I had that map basically, that planet. So, or he was not attacking me much. He was confined to his base more. He had more tanks as well, so it was hard for him to harass me. So I felt like I could take all that metal, but.
Well, first off, I would of course like to say thank you, Killer Kiwi, for subbing in for us, and of course, good game. And, you know, just thanks for being there, pal.
Yeah.
Continue, please. I wanted to give a shout out to Killer Kiwi for, being a friend in need. Or helping a friend in need.
Right.
Another thing I would also like to point out was, Killer had pointed out that he couldn't build, I think his factory and where his commander was at about 2 minutes 50.
Yeah.
I think that was just another bit of the bugs catching him.
Yeah, it's the placement thing with the new placement sizes. If you put one building up and then you like try and put another building next to it and it snaps to it, when it snaps, it will snap too close, and when whatever building unit tries to build it, it'll like walk up to it because it thinks it can do it, and then it finds out that it can't, and it will just skip it or not build it. So my fabricator was next to my volcano at 10 minutes, and it stayed there for like 2 minutes until I did another move command. And in those 2 minutes, there was like nothing on the right hand side of the map. I could have got tunnel metal. It's kind of annoying.
I'm traveling
but
over there.
I was finding that quite hard to control 2 planets. I think I'm a little bit out of practice, and I couldn't control that much stuff at once. So you saw I was doing stupid things on my air units because I was forgetting about them and not using control groups properly. And my economy stalled pretty hard, although like I was really short on metal, but again, it's partly because of expecting to get some that I didn't. And I don't know, the orbital fabricators build so quick. Like,
yeah,
it didn't really. I was building it with the orbital fab. It was just using tons of metal.
That's another one of those things meaning to address. Other things get prioritized in front of it. But
Yeah.
I think I have an idea that might be something that could go into the next build.
Well, it's
I'll
interesting
have to
because
talk to the engineer.
Yeah, it's interesting because orbital used to be like tier 2 nearly, the orbital launcher, because the orbital fabricators use 60 metal a second. I think the T2 ones do as well, so it's like it's a type of T2, but now it's being brought back into earlier game, so you don't have enough economy to support it so much, and it's more like tier 1.5, which I think is a better place for it.
And that's always been the intention behind orbital, was for it to be a sort of tech 1.5.
Yeah. But then the fabbers are so good.
Yeah.
So good. I was also not paying attention to the radars that were above my base the whole game. I even had Avengers, but it's hard to see them when I'm like zoomed in on my base because I was using the camera anchors and I'd have them over both my bases. So when I was flicking between my 2 bases, I can't see the orbital stuff. And like the blue line that goes down from it is really subtle. So I might have seen it. Like I might have caught it in the corner of my eye if the bar going down to the planet was a bit more obvious, but yeah, there was a radar sitting outside both my base.
When you sent your first Avenger over to Kiwi's base, you notice anything kind of peculiar about it?
Nope, nothing at all. I didn't pay any attention. I basically sent it to die.
Okay, never mind then, I won't bring it up.
Okay, I'm gonna go back and see what happened.
Okay.
Wait, did it just stay alive?
Oh, no, it did more than stay alive. Oh, it thrived, my friend.
First one.
So while Custard's puzzling over that, TV Neta, would you like to... I have a question. What's really the idea behind putting so much of the HP on walls instead of maybe making the walls have less HP and cost more and putting more HP on the turrets themselves?
Because the walls are supposed to stop things? I mean...
Wait, okay, I figured out my orbital thing. So, my orbital fighter and Kiwi's orbital fighter weren't killing each other?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's
weird.
correct.
They
If you
got, I
rotate
think,
your camera,
into a-
you'll notice that both of them were just flying higher and higher off the planet.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they stayed
Wow.
like that for the rest of the game.
Oh. Well, I sent it there to, like, take out the first orbital fab or radar or whatever it was that he might make, and sort of force him to make a fighter, but...
Yeah, they were
Wasn't
shooting at
like-
each other, and then they just kind of started evil glaring at each other, and then they just started getting higher than Cloud9. That was about the last we kind of cared about them.
Okay. I'm gonna be right back, 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, in response to the question about walls and turrets and whatnot, so I was a turtle when I played Soupcom, and Soupcom made me very, very happy because I was always a turtle deep down, and I had never, up until that point, really played any games, any RTS that really supported my turtling habits as much as Supreme
You never
Commander
played Total Annihilation?
I had not at that point, no.
There's a lamb on top of his screen. I didn't even notice that.
You have
So-
since then?
Yes. So, when I first joined the project, I enjoyed the dynamic that Walls had with static defenses, compared to the shields and whatnot that you saw in Soupcom, and I like them because they're something that can be flanked around. They can actually perform area denial, and it adds an extra layer of actually being dug in your base, and an extra layer of planning that has to happen, and beyond just like, oh well, I plopped this down somewhere and this is now better defended. And I want there to be more to actually defending than just plunk a turret down and there it goes. Instead, preferably, it's more about, okay, I need this to deny this area, they are likely to come from here, and they are going to... And they're likely going to come over here, I can funnel them through here, etc., etc. It becomes more about positioning and less about like, how much firepower do I have here, how much build power have I invested in this particular area. It's how have I planned this out.
Which makes sense. I mean, it makes it a lot more... It makes the value of the units behind the wall a lot safer and a lot more guaranteed. Which, I mean, I enjoy it, honestly. I hate trying to break through it, of course.
Perhaps,
You're saying?
That being said...
Stuart,
Okay,
and
continue.
then T.
That being said, this is all going to be very new to everybody, because for a long time, walls have not been viable, because they haven't worked as intended. So now that they are working as intended, there's a lot of tweaking that still needs to happen, and new tactics and new exploits that are emerging every day as people are playing the PTE, which is very, very helpful to me. Is like, please play the PTE and find where it breaks, because we need to know. And
Did someone say exploits?
Yes.
Could we perhaps see it being easier to, like, UI-wise surround a turret with walls? Is that something that you'd like to look into?
What do you mean by
I
UI
mean,
wise? Because
we've got limited development resources over here. Is the reality of things. We have to prioritize like what is
like Galactic War.
Yeah.
like what we're going to get the most benefit out of, and
Galactic War.
sometimes some things have to be prioritized over other things.
For a while in Hot Builds, the mod, you could place down a turret. I don't think you can do it anymore, but it had like a keyboard shortcut where you'd place a turret and then it would place walls around it for you. Some people
It still
consider that
works.
cheating. Still works? Okay.
However, it doesn't work nearly as well now that walls have a new model, new hitbox.
I don't know if you've mentioned it already, but as we're on the topic of walls, I like them, the new ones. They're cool. I'm one of those people who people don't like, it seems, and I'm saying walls should use a little tiny bit of energy. But that's mainly so that you can toggle them on and off. So you could toggle them off, send units through.
Oh, that'd be
toggle
cool.
Back on again.
Oh yeah.
To me, sounds like a much more fun way of doing it, and more kind of intuitive and in fiction than just deleting a line of walls to get rid of them, or
makes-
claiming them with a combat fabric, like clicking on each individual wall piece is annoying.
See, the
main thing-
the thing with
Oh,
that
go
is
on.
it's like, that sounds simple just talking about it, and
Yeah.
and I understand, because these are, some of this is stuff I've proposed before, and like, at that point you are getting into like turning on and off like collision and dynamically, and turning on and off navigation, and like whether these things, and that all gets that is a
units
crazy
having to step
rabbit.
over
Yeah,
units,
yeah,
which
I know.
that'd be
So another
interesting.
thing about those new walls that people may not have realized is they can protect things from gunships. If you have a missile defense tower, and you put a few walls around it, gunships can't kill it anymore. And like the gunships had the health reduction, so I'm like, yes, I can use gunships again, maybe. But then, if people realise about the walls and they see that I'm going T2R, they could put walls around the missile defense towers, and they just can't kill them with gunships.
That's fantastic, and I'm going to be using that.
I'll look at that.
Is a Grenadier range buff perhaps something that could be looked into?
I'm
with the
looking
walls?
into a number of things with the Grenadier now that the Grenadier actually has a role to perform.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were used in that game, but I hadn't actually seen the higher arc before, so
I was actually kind of concerned because yeah, he did. I was watching it, and when I was watching, the shots were just they were. I mean, it was like 2 versus 6, and the docks, as long as they were microed and kind of moved around properly, they were effectively invincible. Just because the shots were just firing, and then there was no real like there it goes.
I think that's completely fine. Docks being immune to grenadiers. I think that's absolutely fine if grenadiers have a different role apart from docks killing, which they kind of do.
I didn't know they were supposed to be for docks killing to begin with. I usually.
No.
I was gonna say,
I'm saying it's good if docks can wiggle out the way because
okay.
Because that's what you can kill grenadiers with then. Like if they were made better against tanks, then you'd have tanks and grenadiers in a blob against units.
Right, because then they had that nice splash AoE and then the damage.
Yeah, the splash was actually something that I'd written down for the levelers. The splash for the levelers is teeny tiny, and it's good, but it's so small, it's not really noticeable at all.
Right. I believe in the PTE it was actually upped, I think.
It was introduced in the PTE.
Okay.
Reintroduced. It had been there a few months ago.
Okay.
And then removed for some reason. I was never entirely sure why.
That's another reason why the levelers are a bit better.
Okay. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we just kind of give our quick shout outs to the plugins that we of course always need to do and then just sign out? Of course, always contact Tevintia if you want to play on the PTE. Don't even. It's not worth it anymore. It's always going to be wrong. I'm so used to saying it on stream as Tevintia that it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
I believe Exodus has a guide for how to get on the PTE that's like all very nice and laid out.
Do we have a link, perchance?
Has a.
I might be able to find one.
Awesome.
Yeah, we haven't pointed out tournaments. I could do that.
Okay. Awesome.
So I will get the link to the PTE thing. Well, it's on the forums.
But that's too easy, and we're supposed to be here to help people, so.
There, I posted.
Find it for me.
Okay, so I'll talk about the upcoming tournaments then.
Excellent.
So today there was the final of Clan Wars, which the realm won.
Well, yeah. I think they won like a couple weeks ago.
Yep,
but...
we won a couple of weeks ago. We couldn't have been. So now that's over.
We actually won more like a month ago.
Either way.
Yeah. So now.
Part 2.
The Clan Wars 2. Yeah, that hasn't been officially announced yet, but there will almost certainly be another Clan Wars with different rules, different setup. So. Yes. And more clans, which will be interesting, and much more interesting planets because now we can do the symmetrical stuff.
Right, because we also now have the larger planet, which I don't know if anyone's actually seen, but you can have you can choose in between spawns, and it's pretty.
Yeah, back when Clan Wars started a long time ago, we could do any of that stuff. So there's nothing specific about that yet, other than there will be another Clan Wars.
Okay.
So there's 2 upcoming tournaments, kind of 3 depending on how you look at it. On February the 28th, next Saturday, there's an Orbital Warfare Mayhem tournament.
Oh goodness.
Which is showcasing the Orbital Overhaul mod. If you haven't heard about that mod, might be a good time to give it a go. Maybe enter that tournament. I'll give a link in Twitch chat.
Excellent.
It should be interesting to watch. There's lots of new models and effects in that mod that I really like.
Okay.
Look of. I have too many tabs open. It's getting confusing. And then, oh wait, I should say a format, I suppose.
Is there a format, or
I
is it
honestly
just
don't. I don't
spawn
know. I
in and
haven't
start
really
killing
looked much
things?
into this because I'm not attending this tournament. I'm a bit busy. Apparently, it's a free for all tournament. So you'll be in teams, and there'll be multiple teams in one game.
Oh boy!
Interesting. And there'll be multiple planets, so it would be good to see the large scale of
Large.
PA.
Hopefully,
and then
large,
after
good
that,
orbital matches.
yeah, very interesting orbital matches because of all the units. And after that, it goes back down to smaller games with the Evil Twins qualifying round tournament thing, which is open to anybody who wants to enter.
I believe it's
or you can buy them live.
just sign up, really.
Yeah, just sign up. Basically, if you're listening, sign up. And is that best of 3? Oh, but best of 3 semi-final, best
I
of
believe
5
it's single
final.
elimination until...
Yeah, single elimination, 1v1 tournament.
Yeah.
And then the winner of that tournament will go on to face another 7 people in the Evil Twins finals. Those 7 people are people who are good at PA, who have been like invited. So then it's like the last person
It's
of
the
that
cream of the crop.
is being invited. Isn't being invited. Is winning the other tournament to get into this one, and that's only 8 slots, and it's going to be best of 3s and best of 5s.
Oh my goodness.
For the final.
There's gonna be a lot of matches.
And there's some money involved. Yay! Hopefully more pizza money for me.
Pizza money. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's on... Which weekend is that? It's March the 7th for the Evil Twins qualifying, and then March 14th for Evil Twins finals.
So basically 2 weeks later. Oh wait, no, that's
it's
not...
a week.
Hang on now, let me do some math here. I'm sorry, I've been up for a while.
Yeah, those should be really good games to watch as well, because especially the finals will be best of the best, and there's so many rounds and so many best ofs that like the winner of that will undoubtedly be the current best player in PA.
Wow.
We haven't had a 1v1 tournament like that in a while, so it should be good.
The Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Alright, any other tournaments before we give the plugins, the shoutouts, and all the wonderful anything else's? Alright, well, of course, thank you, Tivintia?
Tivinita!
Just say goodbye. I'm gonna lay down and go to bed. Good night.
Shout out to everybody playing the PTE, giving us feedback, telling us about all the bugs, and giving me plenty of really good data. Everybody who plays PTE on streams, you're my best friend forever.
Yeah.
Stuart, what do you gotta say?
Peace out, everyone.
Custard, what do you gotta say?
I'm going to say that I will hopefully be doing some streaming this week, probably.
Possibly, maybe.
It'll be a mixture of PA and probably RoboCraft at some point as well.
Okay, there we go.
I've been doing a lot of that recently. I'm going to link my stream. Well, I'm just going to say it because it's obvious. Twitch.tv/burntcustard. When I'm streaming PA, I will try and stream the PTE. Unless I get really drunk, and then I might do 1v1s on the ladder in stable.
Oh god.
Yeah, last time I did that though, I lost twice.
Was it the last time you did that you ended up playing against me and I got Uber for it?
Was that time? It might have been that time. It might have been a separate time. Once.
I don't know. Either way. Alright, well then, I guess I'll give a quick shout out to Killer Kiwi Juice for coming in and being our 1v1 against Custard. Thank you very much. Of course, for those of you that were here before the Pendulum of War actually signed in and you were on my stream, it's also Twitch TV / I believe it's just all lowercase Ghost_Reaper. And with that, thank you the player that showed up with the PT. You're fantastic and you're marvelous. And we'll see you all guys in about 2 weeks. So, bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for murdering your name multiple times. Oh, no apologies. Okay.
It's cool.